Hello everybody, nice to see you again, and I'm going to continue my story. Chapter 16. Diana is invited to tea with tragic results. Marilla saw Anne very sad. And Marilla asks, "What's the matter, Anne?" Anne said that she missed Diana so much, and she said she was so bored staying indoors. Marilla agreed that they could have tea together, and Anne was very happy. But Anne said she couldn't go to a tea party wearing a dress like that without puff sleeves. And she begged Marilla to add puff sleeves on her gray dress she was knitting. And then Anne kept on begging and never stopped, because that was her long dream that was never fulfilled. But Marilla said, "If you will get puff sleeves, you will not invite Diana to tea then." And then Anne said, all right, I'll stop begging what I want." So Marilla agreed, and she let Anne do it, and Anne was happy. And then she asked Marilla if she could use the rosebud tea set, and Marilla said no. She said she should use the brown tea set with original flowers. Anne agreed to the suggestion, and Diana came over. They ate cookies. Anne told her when the mouse got drowned and all about her mistakes in life. Diana drank 3 tumblerfuls of the raspberry cordial. And then Diana walked dizzily, and she told Anne that she must go home. She said it 3 times, like she drank 3 tumblerfuls, and Anne agreed. She sent Diana home, and Diana walked crazily, and not dizzily anymore, but she sang while she walked. And then when Anne was gonna get an errand from Mrs. Rachel Lynde, she saw that Anne was crying, and then she asked her why, and she asked them her because Diana's mother said that she was drunk. She would laugh most of the time and had headaches all day. And when she was asked to sleep, she slept right away and slept for hours. And when her mother smelled her breath, she knew she was drunk, and then Marilla said, "Drunk fiddlesticks. Are you or Mrs. Barry crazy?" said Mrs. Marilla. So Anne wept all night. And then Matthew told Marilla that maybe she should talk to Mrs. Barry. So when it was morning time, Anne asked Miss Marilla to talk to Mrs. Barry, and then Marilla agreed. Marilla tried to convince her that it was her fault, but it was no use. Anne pleaded, which could soften Mrs. Rachel Lynde's kind heart, but it didn't with Mrs. Barry. Mrs. Barry shut the door and told Anne that Diana was with Carmody, because Anne wanted to say goodbye to her for one last time. Chapter 17, A New Interest in Life. Diana arrived from Carmody and went back to Avonlea. And then she told Anne that she was devotedly sorry, and she cried and cried that it wasn't Anne's fault, but it was of no use too, because Mrs. Barry wouldn't agree with Diana. Anne took her patchwork scissors and cut off of Diana's one black raven hair, and she cut one of her red hair, and she hold them together and put it in a box. So when they both held it, Anne was happy, and then she was sad because she got to be with her friend for one last time, and sad because she couldn't be friends with her anymore. Diana wrote Anne a letter that she made her a nice bookmark with red tissue paper and a card which said that she loved Anne so much. So Anne wrote a letter to Diana back. P.S. I will sleep with your card under my pillow tonight. Don't mind my spelling because I'm not that good in it. Anne kissed the bookmark and kept the letter in a box. And she sent Diana's letter, and Diana was happy to read the letter. And that's what Anne did. She slept with her letter at night. In the morning, she went to Diana, and Anne told Diana that she slept with her letter, and Diana was pleased to hear that. And Diana told Anne all about school. She talked about Moody Spurgeon and how she needed to sit with Gertie Pye, who squeaked her pencil and made Diana's blood run cold. And also and about Charlie Sloane loving Anne. Anne said, "It's of no use. I hate a boy with goggle eyes." It was right. Charlie Sloane had goggle eyes. Diana told her about Gilbert Blythe, and Anne stopped her because she did not want to hear about Gilbert Blythe. So Anne stopped Diana and said, "We better go home now, or else we might be needed. And you told me that your mother's gonna time you. Maybe she's calling you right now. So goodbye, Diana." "Goodbye, Anne." They both rushed together. Anne was served some dinner, and she went to bed, remembering all about Diana. And she said to herself, "I hope Mrs. Barry will let us be friends again." But it was no use that they could ever be together. Chapter 18, Anne to the Rescue. While Anne was sleeping in her bed, she was sleeping soundly and happily, thinking about Diana's mother pleading her to be friends again. Diana was rushing in that cold night. And then Diana finally reached Green Gables and told Anne that Minnie was awful sick. Anne rushed in and called Matthew to fetch a doctor from Carmody, and then they ran and ran. And then they reached the house. Anne remembered about having 3 twins 3 times. Twins 3 times. So from Mrs. Hammond's place. And then she rushed to find some medicine. She found some ipecac, which was perfectly for croup. She gave Minnie May the whole bottle of ipecac and put onion on the soles of her feet and just a few, and thought to herself that this is my last hope. And then finally she started coughing and she got well. The doctor came by and she saw Minnie May sleeping soundly, and Anne told her the whole incident, how she treated croup and her experience at Mrs. Hammond's place. And then the doctor said that maybe Anne was gonna be very, very good at being a doctor for treating croup. And then Anne went home in the carriage with Matthew sleeping on his elbow, and she said that maybe the trees could blow away with one breath. So Anne fell asleep, and Matthew did all the chores as needed. And then Anne slept for 2 days because that night was very, 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 very terrible. Marla was back from seeing the premiere, and Mrs. Barry came over and told Anne that she was very remarkable and that she was there to apologize from what she did. Marla Cuthbert told Anne that she was still sleeping, but she allowed her in. And she told her the whole incident. Even Marla already knew about it. And then Mrs. Barry took their leave, and it was Anne woke up that time. Marla didn't tell Anne about it because she knew that she would fly up like a rocket and dash out. Anne ate her breakfast with cherry preserves, some bread, meat, and some eggs with porridge. And when Marilla told her the whole incident, she almost dropped the plate. Finally, Marilla caught it, and she said, "Oh, that child is insane. She forgot to put on her coat. I'd better call for her for the wind. She has gone without hat or wrap." So Anne dashed out like a rocket. She almost tripped in the snow, but she didn't care. She looped and looped and finally reached Diana Barry's house. She shrieked to the door and finally caught her in her arms. And Diana showed Anne the whole room in her house, played with her toys, read stories together, and played at the garden and sang on their songs. They went to their pond and sang as if they were friends forever. They talked and did the whole activity all over and over again. And this was the last activity they didn't do yet. It was to make something very wonderful than getting drunk by raspberry cordial. It was making something special like biscuits. They smushed the dough together all over and over again. Diana and Anne were having so much fun. Mrs. Barry came into the room and saw Diana and Anne playing with the dough. They were happy. They swallowed and gulped it and made it to a perfectly fine bread shape. The cat came in and ruined everything. They needed to start over again, and they did it. They were finally done. Mrs. Barry helped them slice them into pieces, and they ate some in their house, and they tied them in a handkerchief for Anne. And then Anne was happy. She ate the treat along home. And Anne was happy with all the activities she did. And Anne told Marilla, and she couldn't stop with the tattletale. Chapter 19. A concert, a catastrophe, a confession. When Anne went to bed, she rose up brightly in the morning and she dashed out to Marilla. Run! She ran and flew like a rocket like yesterday. And she sat down on the porch and said, "Oh, Marilla, I better go now. Diana's coming." "Coming? For what? You woke up in the middle of the night, Anne." "Well, please, allow me to go." "For what?" "It's Diana's birthday, and she'll invite us." Marilla said no so many times. Matthew said 3 times that Anne should be allowed to go. Marilla said, "Mm-mm," and another, "Mm-mm," and then the third one, "Mm-mm." But in the fourth one, what Matthew had said, she said, "Fine, Anne can go, since nothing can please you." So Anne was happy to hear this. She dashed off without the coat again, returned back with the coat, forgot it and returned, and forgot and returned. And finally, she reached Diana's house, and she said she was allowed to go. They went to the concert, ate ice cream. Nothing pleased Anne except everything pleased Anne except Gilbert's speech about a poem he learned and memorized. Anne wasn't interested, and he took another book and read it. Until they got until Gilbert was finished with his speech. And then finally Anne went home and told Diana that she enjoyed the whole concert. Diana talked about Gilbert and Anne said, "Oh, why don't we race the beds?" They raced and raced and raced, and finally they reached the bed. They ran, and then they overleaped on the bed. And then someone on the bed said, Oh, merciful Lord! Diane and Anne ran and ran and ran and went down to the other room. And they said, "Oh, what was it?" Anne's blood ran cold. Her hands shivered and her mouth cracked. And then Diana laughed. Ha ha ha! It was Aunt Josephine. I forgot to tell you. She went over from Carmody, and here she will be so furious in this morning time. And then Anne said, "Well, I hope she won't. Guess we better share a bed with Minnie May," said said Diana. "All right. You don't know how she kicks." Oh, they both slept and they were disturbed by Minnie May kicking and kicking and kicking them. In the morning, Diana said it was her fault and she wouldn't be paid her piano lessons at all. Diana didn't weep. She just laughed out loud when Anne came, and she said, "Oh, did Miss Josephine get angry at you?" "Oh, of course she did." She scolded terribly. "Mrs. Lynde told me that." "Well, stop complaining." "Well, I'll confess to her it's my fault." "And Shirley, you never. She's gonna eat you alive." "I don't care if I'll be eaten alive. All I care is about I better go and confess. I had practice of confessing things before, so I might be good right now." So Anne confessed that it was her fault. Mrs. Barry said, "Who are you?" "I'm Aunt Shirley from Green Gables. I have red hair." "I can see that," said Miss Barry. "And freckles." "I can see that as well." "And I'm the one who leaped over you." "Well, it's still Diana's fault because she leaped with you." "Oh, just please don't eat me alive," said Anne. And then Aunt Josephine burst laughing out loud. And then Anne laughed with Aunt Josephine, and Diana said, "Oh, thank goodness she didn't eat her." "Oh, all right. I'll stay a bit longer if you visit me. Can you tell me all about your life?" "Oh, I'm sorry, I can't. Marilla has me to do some very important business, but I'll see you again. Goodbye." Aunt Josephine waved goodbye to Anne in the window. Anne visited Aunt Josephine every day, and they never stopped. Aunt Josephine staying for days and days. And she was a bit contented with Anne. And Anne was very, very happy. Chapter 20. A good imagination gone wrong. So Anne found Mrs. Allen a kindred spirit and Mrs. Barry, and Marilla told Anne that she could have Mrs. Allen over for tea. Anne was happy. She baked a layer cake. And finally, they were here. Anne was shocked, and she hoped that her cake would be nice because she dreamt that a goblin chased her with a layer cake on its head like this. And then Anne accidentally added liniment in her cake because she broke the vanilla bottle, and she used to use the spare one. So when Mrs. Allen ate so many slices of cake of Marilla, but she did not try Anne's cake. It was a layer cake this big, and she declined it because she was so full. And then she said, "Well, oh sorry, well maybe I'll try it since it's yours, Anne." She took one piece, and another piece, and a third piece, and a fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th. And she gave it to her husband, 2 for her husband, 2 for herself, 2 for Marilla, and 2 for Anne, and 2 for Matthew. They all cut their cakes into pieces. Mrs. Allen grabbed a fork and shoved it in. Anne was very nervous about this, and Mrs. Allen ate it up. And she took a handkerchief and ate some more. Mr. Allen ate some as well, and he vomited in the handkerchief. And for Marilla, she ate the cake and gulped it. And Anne tried the cake as well. She cut hers in some pieces. She added some preserves on it so she could know it's good, tastes good. She had so many, and then she ate it. The cake tasted horrible to Anne. She told Marilla that she only used the vanilla bottled flavor. The vanilla bottle said on it, "Best vanilla." And then Anne read it, and she told Marilla the whole incident, that it broke. And Marilla said it was her fault as well because she poured liniment into that bottle when the vanilla bottle broke. So Anne wept and told Marilla to go away and she would wash the dishes later. It was Mrs. Allen. Mrs. Allen was a kindred spirit, so Anne showed her all over the garden. When it was home time,